question and answer session. So is there anybody in the room that would like to start to ask a question of any of the speakers?
Yeah, I have a question for Pablo. Nice presentation, but what I always wonder is the realism in these kind of studies. I mean, it's nice, it's low cost, and you take an environmental thing to it, but if I look at the Dutch situation, for example, in the Netherlands, we have multiple bikes and all kinds of other. I don't see any objects approaching from behind, so it's really like, maybe it's an interesting research to do this in a real-time environment with a headset on, because it doesn't give me any clue if this really would work. I mean,
as I said,
it has promise, but I'm still very skeptic right now.
It's more of a proof of concept. As I said, there is a huge community. You'll be surprised when people actually mod it and they make modifications. So it will be quite easy to put basically Delft in there. They have Delft, but they use physics and graphics from the game, but they have objects like models of the city, of the city as from Delft. So the bicycle physics also there, so you can put as many bicycles as you want. So it's a matter of time to do it, and I'm looking at maybe I can do it also some in the Dutch.
You see, a Dutch biker will never stop 10 meters before the white stripe.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's quite unrealistic. Like, we will continue our route regardless of red lights and whatever. So if you take that in consideration, even pedestrians are in the mix with bikes in Holland, as you know.
We disable pedestrians on purpose. Most of the situations have the pedestrian crossing scenario. But they can put 2,000 pedestrians if you roll the 5,000 bikes. And you can make them as Dutch as you want. So my point is, it's flexible and it's the best problem.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, is there anyone, yes?
Just to react on Pablo's, because we were just discussing that one, I just wonder, what is the final aim of what you're doing? Is it to re-educate the people on the bikes, or is it just to kind of have information to redesign the environment?
So I'm between two projects. One is autonomous driving, so the aim of this is to build up a platform for autonomous driving research, so to understand how people behave in autonomous cars. And then also the second project is drivers, cycling safety, so to understand how people interact with other road users on intersections among models. And also there are some thoughts of doing some head-up display interfaces and so on, so try to test those concepts. Because to try that, in driving simulator, that would be quite hard.
So I have a question also for So what is your level of detail in your program? It is a lot of service, a lot of facades in colors and shapes and form, which is wonderful, fast, iterative, so kind of like that. Where is the level of detail that is that what you meant with complexity, or is that?
Yes, no, but it's just like a snapshot of what we can do. In terms of complexity of going into the, let's say, the realism of building with all of the building elements, you can support. We are currently able to display somewhere about 40 million polygons in VR in real time with all the things that we've seen. So normally the level, and also using dynamic level of detail, so LODs, we can move even past that. So in principle, from my perspective, the only problem, the computational algorithms length is the only limitation, but still the latest build that we have created allows us to actually, you can wait for 1 or 2 seconds until the process is being, or the geometry is being cooked, it's called in the back, while you don't lose the immersiveness. So that means that, of course, there are processes, like in any software, if you pick the parameters too high, then it will break. Our system is trying to prevent that from happening, so we are checking.
So the latency is really not there?
No, from the VR experience, the interactions that you do are usually, let's say, most of them are real time. Some of them require a little bit of delay, but the delay is still, let's say, at interactive frame rates, or interactive, you can call it interactive. If you want to create something even bigger, something super complex, then you could in principle create this kind of cooking operation, which might take, let's say, a minute. but in the meantime you can operate and you can continue to work in the environment. So you never have to wait like in the traditional software for something to happen, the screen blocks or something. That's one of the reasons VR doesn't work like that. We get sick if that happens. So that was the main concept, not to have that kind of issue. In terms of, we are working on a custom solution which allows us to actually go way beyond that, which is not even using meshes anymore. So we are looking into connecting that with Houdini, because Houdini in principle can use both nerve surfaces and meshes. So I'm now in the process of connecting those two systems together, and then the level of detail will be almost infinite. We have
so you basically can handle all kinds of 3D models.
All kinds of 3D models, exactly. All kind of. I haven't had time to show you. I had a model from Philips Lighting, and they actually taken from their website directly, converted via Houdini into a parametric entity, and brought directly into the environment with all of the IS lighting specifications and everything. So the advantage is that vendors can create their own high-level procedural entities.
I found that a really interesting point that you said, that you can actually exploit vendor.
Exactly. My idea for further research is to combine three entities, to combine the creators, the designers, to combine the industry, the producers of the goods, and bring also municipalities in. Because that's one of the key elements. If you have all of these, so the building side, so if you have all of these three going to the same VR environment at a conceptual stage, and all of the decisions can be done at that point. And then I think, again, I didn't show, there was this testing for the Globe Festival in Eindhoven, where municipality, Philips as a producer and other tarmac producers and lighting designers work together to actually validate one of the concepts for one of the facades of the festival, for example.
So this really spans to your first visual cortex, right? It's lots of it. So how you said something that you were able to experience the textures and the materials that you were virtually exploring.
We are collaborating with.
But how? Because the tangibility of it is.
Well, we're working with two companies now. One is called Delft from France, which are creating a haptic system, which allows you to actually feel that. Another one is, if you know, with motion, which they create this kind of, so you can use your hand, your free hand, which I think is important. I also believe that the new generation of VR headsets will allow already, let's say, individual figure tracking. And there is a VR glove company which is creating haptic feedback and haptic response solutions. So then you can also, it's physically blocking your hand, so you can actually interact, you can feel, you can grab, you can operate with. So the next level, let's say, to the software that I'm saying is physically manipulating the attractors on the scale model. So you can actually take and feel the effectors and move them, and on the scale model entity you can actually
that's why I was asking, to what level of detail can you go? Because advanced stuff is really hard to still feel within virtual reality.
Yeah, well, so we're trying to work with let's say the latest, and our partners are also inventors in their field. And we have a partnership with GoTouch VR, and their solution is quite impressive in terms of haptic feedback. Although it only gives you the touch sensation, it doesn't physically block your movement. But there are solutions being developed for that also. So I believe that's, again, the next generation of GPUs, for example, will be probably exponentially more powerful than the current one because of VR.
Yes.
So we'll be able to actually go even deeper in terms of LEDs.
Can I have one more question?
Oh, we have lots of time for questions, yeah.
Because what about the audio aspects and the oral aspect? Can I feed into the system?
Yes.
And demand stuff?
Exactly. We're working with a company in Germany called Cognigy, which are actually developing a system which allows you to, using your voice interaction, to ask a question. They build this kind of semantic structure of what is being actually asked for, so the elements, the entities, and then the system is able to understand and process those questions in a realistic manner. So, for example, you're programming some kind of behavior tree, but the behavior tree is then put through a neural network, and then you can address the same question in any way, in ways that have not been pre-programmed, and the system will still understand what you're looking for. So, in this example,
and can you contextualize that?
Exactly. Yes, that's the main advantage. The system, their algorithm is actually contextualizing and analyzing what you're actually asking, creating this kind of context structure network, and then based on that, it can actually answer very complex systems. We're using this with Shell at the moment, so that they can ask, for example, a worker on the platform can ask a question of the sort, what is that thing next to the demetanizer on the second floor? and the system will still understand exactly what is being asked for, and it will create, for example, a virtual guide to that objective and give information. So it knows, it contextualizes, and it understands a lot of things. I was surprised by their, let's say, the efficiency and the simplicity, if you want, of the, or how easy it is to integrate it in the platform. So I think the future is very, very, from my perspective, very promising on this front. There are new technologies, all of them, but the technologies are very, very promising, and they show. And I'm happy to see how different partnerships are forming based on just the.
So because the next step would be to really have this in a real world setting, right? Like,
well,
I would love to destroy my own house and have your system in that particular area, you know, to just microscale it, and then have the illusions going towards maybe you know, a next set of design layers in that particular area. So
it will be a little bit, but yes, it's an interesting direction.
I have a very simple question for you.
Okay.
You said that the China grid facades are very popular at the moment. Can you explain why? I couldn't imagine so fast.
Because the grid facade I think it consists a lot of things. It provides using daylight, also the structural performance efficiently. So it's good for energy using effectively.
So it has the light, but still it's very, it can transfer a lot of forces, or?
Yeah, you also in this study I evaluate this structural performance of the building. My aim is maximizing daylight, also minimizing structural performance with using steel material.
Yeah.
For the further study, I want to use different material types because I want to observe steel or different types, how can the effect of the building. So in the future I can use different.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We have a question for you.
I thought it's getting away.
So, how do you see the future of this web-based training? From this point of view, now if the students come to lecture, you have a direct contact, you can answer the question, but in the virtual world, they simply disappear, and they are. It's advantage to use new tools, but this personal contact is lost. How do you see it?
The future is there's always going to be face-to-face, there's always going to be campus. When I started this journey, I had the impression that the young people coming up weren't interested in coming to campus, they weren't interested in listening to an old person like me talking. But what I've actually discovered is they are still interested in coming to campus and socializing together, albeit their socialization is different than what I'm used to doing in terms of they can all be together in a room socializing through social media or chatting while I'm doing my PowerPoint presentation. They're down in the lecture theatre and they're talking to each other via their various different social media channels that they have. But it's only sometimes when I actually use the simulator in the class, they'll start to pay attention now. I get them for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then they're gone. And one of the things that I've noticed is that they're only really using this to be able to catch up on lectures, or they're using this to be able to get an understanding from themselves and from each other. They don't understand me. If there's a big enough generation gap, they just don't understand me. Some of them will, and they'll be able to get the message. So sometimes I'm explaining something over and over, and then one of my students will explain it, and then they all look at me and say, why didn't you say that? And I'm kind of going, I thought I said that. So in combination with this simulator, when I went to put it in the field experiment, I discovered I had to do a number of 10-minute video tutorials because that's what the students wanted. They didn't just want that. And I also found then that instead of having less students come to class, I found more students coming to class. And then the director came to me recently and said, we don't need, because the practical, you have to break it down to smaller student sizes, maybe 16. So he's decided that maybe we don't need the smaller student sizes, that I can give the lecture from one room and the other students can go to several other rooms and just have a technician supervise them and give it from one space, but they're still on campus, but they're just watching it through the screen. I'm not physically in front of them, I'm only physically in front of one cohort.
Can you explain it again? They watch a 10 minutes video and then they make a break, or how does it work?
So it's up to them. So at the moment I've put together, populated about 25 videos, and I'm continuing to populate videos, but I stop after 10 minutes because they stop watching after 10 minutes. So each lesson plan, I have to carefully think about it.
How did you find out that they stop after 10 minutes?
They told me, they basically started, the
So it's
feedback.
really 10 minutes?
10 minutes, they've actually came back to me and said, you know what, we're bored. A lot of them will click through it very quickly. So
Yeah.
initially I had...
But you had tabs on it. Could you see that they were going out of it?
I drew a questionnaire when I went in
okay.
a classroom questionnaire, and obviously we had a discussion like this as well. So I couldn't see it on the video itself, no. But what also was happening is initially I gave a 2-hour lecture, and then I edited it down, take out all the noise, and it would maybe down to between 40 minutes to an hour. And I sent it on to them and you know, continued to interact with them and ask them how they're getting on. And that's when they came back and said, you know what, if you took that video and made it 4 10-minute videos or 5 10-minute videos, it would be much better, because I don't need the introduction part, I don't need the middle part, I just need these other 2 parts here. And a lot of them will watch it through their smartphone on the bus with their earphones, but their attention is 10 minutes and then they're gone on to something else or another live feed or something, you know, they keep moving on. So it's a need-to-know basis with them. But I don't believe it.
But what do you do now? I didn't get yet the picture. You're supposed to do 2 lessons, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so you show a video of 10 minutes and then you go away, or what do you do?
My plan is to
Yeah.
stay in bed for as long as possible and not actually get out of work. But in the real world, so this is, at the moment, this is a support mechanism. So what I do is I still go to class, I still give the 2-hour lecture, but I have now developed a number of 10-minute lecture series. So what happens now is that even if the student has been in the class for 2 hours, they're on their social media, they're talking to each other, they're planning the party or whatever it is. But the exam's coming up, so then they go back into the site, the website, and they start to use the videos. They weren't listening to maybe the 2 hours, but they still like to come to the classroom. They still like to interact with them. And also, some of them still need to be seen to be there, because they think if they're not seen to be there when it comes to exam times, I might be harder. They still forget it's blind marking, that it's still they're a student number, not a name when it comes to exams. But yeah, so a lot of them still will come to campus, a lot of them will still turn up in class. So I don't see the future of, unless we can teleport ourselves, I don't see the future of it all going online. But I would like that, because
So you see basically a blend then, because now I feel that you need more leisure, and you can sort of facilitate the leisure by making videos.
Yeah.
But then you're sort of, to me, to be facetious, you're just a YouTube channel now.
Yeah, I'm joking when I say that I'd like to stay. The reality is that this is twice the amount of work. It's easier.
I know, no, that's a lot of work, I see that, but it's just...
It's easier for me just to walk into the classroom
Yeah.
and give the lecture.
Yeah.
And I do it in my sleep, so I don't need to think about it.
So the next step for you will be virtual twins. You talk to Claudio in order to get that going. Because you can do a scale within a scale model, and then you can scale that up to a fantastic educational model.
But yeah, the main motivation from my point of view is to stay connected. So I would rather that they're on their social media devices, connected to something that's relevant. And really the mindset from my point of view is, you see a Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, they will play that, you know, hours and hours and hours. They will connect to each other, they will have the conversation, they will share the screens, they do it the same with the war games and so on. So when it comes to social gaming, they are there all the time and they meet each other and Pokemon Go and all of that.
You're saying something really profound here, because
I want to do it for
you
education.
are on a point, because you know, if you're connected to this GTA, right, and they're on the bike and all of a sudden they want to pop a Coke bottle or something, and they come across a refrigeration problem, You know, they should solve it right there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that you could really gamify this to a next level,
yeah.
and then I think they will be interested again.
Yeah, and I believe that rather than me trying to do it, handing it over to the students and not and make the students centered and not giving them any lesson plan, but saying to them, these are the real problems, these are the scenarios that you're going to come across. I believe they will take it.
One of the important things will be the competitive factor, because from my experience I noticed that students, if they're a little bit put to compete with each other, but in a good way, like positive competition, they have, for example, in your case, if they were put into teams competing to finish a task or to understand the working of a system, then they could be much more motivated because of this. But I think it's not only the gamification of the process, but also the gamification of the result, if you want, playing the game.
Yeah.
So they'll get little things, rewards, stuff like that. It actually works from a psychological point of view.
Yeah.
You have these little rewards in the game, like I managed to finish level 2 because I was 5 times or 5 minutes faster than the other team.
That's right.
You will get them to, I assume that they'll be much more intrigued.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What you said, rewards,
Yes.
they really work.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's...
Winification.
Yeah, exactly. Gamification and winification.
And also then at that level, like they're adolescents and they want the responsibility. So they don't want the student to be telling, or the teacher-centered approach, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. Like, I mean, the day has gone where a student will sit for 2 hours. They're up and down, they're in and out, they're going for coffee, they're on the phone, you know. So you like to give them control.
It is not about you anymore, that's
No.
for sure.
I'm just a facilitator now.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. And that's a good job. I mean, listen, it's very important.
Yeah.
But it's a change of the mind, right, for you too.
I still hear it. I have teenage children.
It's
I,
also changing the competencies that the students acquire. I'm not so fond about it.
I know, and I still have children, teenage children, that come home to me and tell me their teacher is rubbish. And then they'll go on YouTube and they'll find the problem to the maths equation, and then their teacher is great again when they go back the next day because they're able to tell the teacher the problem.
Yeah.
So if the teacher is open to hearing them, the teacher is great. If the teacher is not open to hearing them and has to do it their way, the teacher is rubbish.
Well, you indicated that by saying that you said something that they sort of said that you didn't say, and then all of a sudden you think, but I did say that, and then but it's the context, and it's like how you bring it to them, and they follow other leaders, right? So it's a really difficult time.
And human beings,
No, it is.
we need
It's
leaders,
funny,
we need someone to
that's
follow.
when it's very small.
I find if you don't have leadership, we get demotivated and we get, if you like, kind of disconnected. So there's always going to be a hierarchy. There's always going to be a need. It seems to be the way for the human. They need some.
I think it is in the word that you just said. I think that is really we have to motivate them and instigate the motivation because they have a lot of drive in them and a lot of energy. It's just that we don't seem to notice. I mean, I see some of my colleagues sort of struggling with that. They cannot get them motivated, so the classes are going to be dwindling. You know, the amount of people in there is like pathetic. And then also the results, of course, because you have to grade them and stuff, are it's difficult.
Els, you want to?
Yeah, it just also have, no, I also have the feeling that they don't read, students don't read their books anymore, or they don't read instructions. If we're just talking about design courses, for example, would then those tutorials be a kind of replacement of books or syllabuses, or would there still be? I just wonder if there would still be a difference in having those online tutorials compared to just instructions in books, or do we have to find a kind of combination or just replace?
Definitely a combination. There has to be a fine medium, but what I've noticed lately is that if you set the problem for them without giving them any instruction and let them go off, then they're more inclined to go and research the idea and go and find the information. They're not so much inclined to use books as much as they use the internet, and then you have to try and explain to them that the source needs to be verifiable. So Wikipedia may not be unless you check where it's coming from, or because you can change it. But if you give them the book first and tell them to do the research first, they're demotivated straight away. So they need to do it on their terms.
Mostly by the thickness of the book. Because they're always handling their smart device, it's become thinner and thinner.
And even my 13-year-old and my 14, or she's 15, and 15-year-old, they're using tablets in school. They don't bring books to school. Everything is, there's a cloud-based system, so the books are from the cloud, and they bring their tablets to school. My 17-year-old is still using books, and he's carrying the heavy school bag, but the generation behind him, and there's not much of a gap, they're tablet-based. And there's over 500 schools in Ireland alone that are tablet-based curriculum. They're still using books, but it's electronic version. So, you know, the day is coming where when they come to me, or that generation comes into me, and I recommend a book or reading, then kind of, you know,
There will be a day that you are going to be a tablet.
I'm going to be. I have a question for you, Claude, is in relation to, we have in the construction industry, we have a system known as building information modeling, and it uses Autodesk and Rivet. And again, what I've noticed, Intel, for example, is one of the companies that I kind of originally kind of got me down the VR virtual construction side of things. But what they do is they have every different company coming in before they build their fabrication for manufacturing, and they have every company build their element from a virtual point of view, and they have what's known as the clash detection system. So they have the cave where everybody comes into the cave, nobody's allowed out, you can't bring any of your tablets or your memory, it's all Intel coded. Everything is built, so my element would be all the services, so I would do all the pipes, ducts, layout, electrical layout, all of that. But then suddenly I find it's clashing with something else, with somebody else's, you know, maybe the architecture is fine, whatever. The two of us are sent into that room, and the two of us have to go through clash detection. And we're not allowed to leave that room until we resolve it. And then if Intel signs off on it, when I go to build it for real, it's my problem if it doesn't, if the measurements don't fit. I'm just wondering, from your point of view, is because you need to train, we actually need to train people up in Rivet, and we need to train them up in Autodesk and give them that. Is yours more, will yours be more user-friendly in that way? Will it allow for clash detection? Will it allow for...
Actually, we're working now with the show of a system which is exactly doing that. They have a problem, they have a clashing problem internally within their engineers and the designers, which when they design specific elements or when they implement the engineers' specifications, they do come to this kind of clashes in terms of design. So, and we're actually working on a system, a multi-user system, which allows this clashing. Instead of having everybody in a cave, they'll be online, they can be wherever in the world, it doesn't have to be in the same location.
Yeah.
And so the distributed system, and they can actually come together and make annotations. First of all, the system will enable this kind of physical intersection detection, and then all kind of clashes that can be defined. Yeah. And then they'll be able to take notes, to modify, to record their comments, so that, for example, one of the parties, when he wants to later on examine the experience, he can go alone if you want in VR and read, see all of the notes, all of the comments, all of the areas that have been, let's say, where the clashing might have been found, solve it, or work on it, and then, of course, report this update. And then at one point, when all of the clashes are officially, let's say, solved, then the process will be approved, and then, okay, this is the model, or this is the approved version of the model, which then goes to be implemented in the real life. Yeah. So, in terms of interfacing, I do believe that this is the future, because the cave option forces you to be physically there, which is not always possible, and of course, maybe for some critical elements. So I think that this kind of decentralized version, online cloud-based system is, from my perspective, much. This is what we're building anyway, so we trust that this is a better solution.
But from my viewpoint, the reason why I believe Intel have everything kept in-house is because their policy or their philosophy is we will sell you tomorrow what you don't even know you need yet. And the Pentium chip is, nobody knew that they needed the Pentium chip, but it's in everything. And I believe what they're doing now is that every model that is built for their program, so down to the socket, to they keep it. They have ownership. They want the right over it. And I believe that eventually they will probably be selling us models, design models that may be compatible with whatever the latest technology is. And that's the reason why they're not having it outside. They want it all kept inside. They see something.
Yeah, but that's just protecting the market. So that's not a very good development, I think. But to come back to what Iris just said, it's also very interesting, because I know she says that she doesn't believe in some of what we were talking about. I think one of the things we should really investigate and go into research for is that we have to look at the current human capital, like we are in a perfect hybrid time, right? With lots of analog thinkers and digital thinkers and upcoming generations of different wired people, humans. But there's a lot of things that are tacit and known, and lots of generations are fading out and are still working in very large companies. And we have to start eliciting that knowledge at some point and see, because it's very useful. As you say, and you can detect it also, it's very useful because you are still living, coming back to the talk this morning from, I don't remember your name. Yes, that we are still living in a very old, constructed world, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the moment we get a smartphone in our hands, we think we're really upper and hyper modern, but we're not. We're living in a very physical, tangible world. So here's this thing that I think we should really dedicate our computational time towards elicitation of current knowledge in order to maybe use that later in AI or whatever means you want.
Yes.
Because this is where big companies struggle a lot. Sorry, yes.
I'm really not sure whether it is right to just follow what happens with young people, or whether it might be better to force them to acquire some ways of learning. Because, for example, talking about knowledge, you cannot be creative without having any knowledge.
Yeah.
It's not enough just to be able to find everything somewhere. You must have some inner knowledge. Without
That's
that,
what he's saying.
you won't be able to work creatively. You will not make new inventions.
Correct. Yeah.
And I really doubt that it's good just to follow what is happening, and I also doubt that it's good that the teachers just give tablets. I thought about a study that the old book, the experience of a haptic learning achievement, that this is deeper and different than just scrolling on a laptop.
Agreed.
And if we remember sometimes when in our childhood, in our school work, sometimes when we had to learn something by heart, and we didn't know it, we didn't remember in a situation, sometimes we knew where it was written. Was it on the left side, on the right side, was it under the picture, over the picture, and so there are some mechanisms in the brain that we underestimate maybe. I don't think it's good just to follow what is happening. I would rather appreciate to have both.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. We need a hybrid approach right now.
But to still train the young people in an analog way of learning, plus, of course, the digital.
Combination is what
I
it
just
does.
want to add something. I totally agree with Iris. I think what we should do is also to teach them the methods.
Yeah.
Method is a path where to go from A to B. They should learn it. And how to go with a bicycle or with a car or walking are the tools. They can decide those tools, how they go. But methods, they have to learn. Where do they learn otherwise?
Exactly.
And if we don't do that, then we are missing something really in the future.
I mean, literally, that was the journey when I started. Was just, it's a visual aid, it's a teaching aid, it's something to engage and motivate them. And really, then it's trying to wake up their imagination and begin to get them to go and explore.
Yeah,
And then
you are
they
just
decide
making
what to
use
do
of
with
the
it.
technological solutions that are there, and you integrate them in your current models.
Yeah.
So this is basic stuff. I mean, there are many simple tests with kids. You know, you can give them 2 of the same cups, filled cups, right? And you ask them, so in which cup is the most liquid? And they gladly say, well, the same, right? Then you take one of the cups and put it in a larger glass, right? And you show them again, and then they say, in the large glass, more fluid. You know, this, and you can just test it. So there you go. This is right away learning and education on a very profound level. Why is that mindset there? You know, I think it's
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's very, and there is no right solution as far as.
No.
And this technology is moving so quickly. I mean, I started this journey in 2013. From what's there today, it wasn't there in 2013, and that will be there tomorrow or in 2 years' time. It's going to be. I mean, wearable technologies are coming fast. And
It's also saying a lot about our blindness. We're
Yeah.
completely blind to what is in front of us, and we just say, "Oh, but it's a large glass, so there must be more fluid in it."
Yeah.
And we have to stop.
We don't have to. We can continue over coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you.